Hello, I'm Laura Williams and I'm one of our Academy team members. I specialise in the SPS products and we've been getting quite a few questions from our members on moving those products since leaving the EU. So hopefully we'll be able to answer a few of those questions for you now. So the first question we have here is, how do SPS export requirements vary between Europe and the rest of the world? Now it's important to understand that the rest of the world can't be just classified as one area. Each individual country has their own requirements. The EU operates as a standard for all of the countries. If you're looking to export an SPS product to a new territory, you need to investigate that specific territory, such as Australia. And if you're looking at America, it needs to be the state, not just the country. This really is on a case-by-case basis, but if you are unsure, please by all means come to us through the technical help desk and we'll be able to answer that for you. So we can have a look at our next question now. Is there any way to find out my goods are likely to be inspected or not? So if you are moving high-risk goods into the UK, you will receive an inspection. But when it comes to our medium-risk goods, we are expecting only about 1% of those goods to require an inspection. Now, once you load your documentation onto both the IPAF system and the GVMS system, both of them will show you within your dashboard if you've been selected for inspection or if you are allowed to leave the border control point. IPAFs, you need to do your notification 24 hours in advance, and once the IPAFs team have had a chance to review your documentation, they will select whether or not you're going to be inspected. Headlines suggest that there'll be less checks than previously planned if ports cannot cope with the volume coming through. Should this change how I approach EU imports? The clear answer is no. You need to assume that the border force team and the border control point will be acting correctly and that they will be doing all of the inspections that are required. Don't make the assumption that just because you're coming through at a busy period that you will get waved through because they're too busy to do any further checks. It's always best to err on the side of caution and plan your time accordingly for your supply chain to consider that you may be inspected. Could you explain the new SPS documentation requirements? For example, the export health certificates and any related costs. So now when we are moving any of our SPS products, that's animal, plant and fish, we need to either have an export health certificate, and that is obtained by an official veterinarian signing off, or a Phytosanitary certificate, and these are obtained in the UK from your plant seed health inspector, or a catch certificate for any fresh caught non-farmed fish. Each one of these countries, so for example Spain or Italy, they have their own official veterinarians registered to work for their government agency, and they set their own fees. So each EU country will have a different set of fees. We are being informed to expect that there could be anywhere between 75 and 250 euros additional costs to SPS movements. And this is all dependent on the risk category, the volume, and also the country from which you're exporting and obtaining your certificate. If you don't have this documentation in place come April, you may be refused entry into the UK port and be turned around. So our next question is there anything more I need to do ahead of the next SPS deadline, which is on the 30th of April, by the way, when the checks will actually begin? You should already be doing everything you need to from a compliancy perspective with regards to your paperwork, because those requirements came in on the 31st of January. The only difference that you will see from a business impact is a delay or noticing that the border control post that you previously used is no longer suitable. The biggest thing is to have your own checklist. Make sure that every item that requires it has its health certificate. make sure that you ensure that you're coming through the right border control posts. And thirdly, make sure that your supplier knows exactly what you need from them to be done on the EU side to enable you to move the goods into the UK. So our final question with regards to SPS is, what do I need to be aware of when exporting SPS goods? Now, it's important to understand that the border target operating model is specifically designed for importing goods. So you need to check both the DEFRA website and also the UK global tariff for your commodity to see what export measures are required from a UK perspective. But the biggest thing you need to do is check with the country you're exporting to. We have an approved exporter scheme in the UK, and other countries also have something similar. In some countries, you may have to be pre-registered and approved before you can actually export your goods to that country, and Australia is a prime example of that. It may be that your product is actually prohibited in that particular country. While we set the rules on our imports, and it's a lot easier to give you definitive answers, each country you're exporting to has its own rules and regulations. Thank you very much for your time today, and hopefully we've been able to answer a few of your questions. If you'd like any further information on SPS products, please sign up for our SPS course, and hopefully I will see you there shortly.